Today I am finally going to start a project that actually has been put off for about 2 years at least. Just a little background here. Our farm raises pastured poultry, and oftentimes I will pasture chickens out in my front pasture. And one night after dark, we heard one of our dogs just going crazy. I usually keep dogs with our chickens. One of the dogs was just going crazy and would not stop. So of course we went to investigate it and got a flashlight, found the dog, which she was sitting at the base of a tree, just going berserk. We shone the flashlight up in the tree. There was a bobcat up in the tree. Our dog was sitting there at the base of the tree until we were going to come out and realize that, hey, there's a bobcat out here with your chickens. So we went ahead and dispatched that bobcat because it was after our livestock. It was putting our poultry at risk. At that time, we probably had about 50 or 60 meat chickens out in our chicken tractor. So the bobcat had to go. At the time, we had no experience with preserving hides or anything like that. I did want to keep the hide though. So Tori went ahead and skinned the bobcat, and that skin got wrapped up, folded up, put into a big bag, and it went into our deep freeze. Like I said, that was somewhere between 2 and 3 years ago. I finally decided that now that I've had a little bit of experience with preserving hides, that the bobcat hide might be a fun project to go ahead and tackle. I took it out of the deep freeze a few days ago and put it into the refrigerator right here so it could start thawing. It's been in there thawing for about 3 days, so it's time to take it out and see what we've got. So I figured I'd take y'all along. Super excited to see how it's going to turn out. All right, here it is. All right, y'all. I'm going to unbag this bobcat skin and see what we've got. You can see we still have a little bit of flesh there. Surprisingly enough, this looks like it's in pretty good shape for being frozen for over 2 years. You can see that there's still some flesh on there, but this is in great condition. So I'm super excited. I'm going to go ahead and get this salted really good, and I'm going to fold it back up and just put it in a tray and put it back in the refrigerator and really let it sit with a good amount of salt on it before I continue to deflesh it. All right, I've got it all salted. This is our barn fridge. We use it for very odd things like preserving hides and other random farm things. So this is a drawer from that refrigerator. I am just going to put this back in the refrigerator and just leave it. I'll basically keep an eye on it and watch for the salt to start drawing the moisture out of it. And I will probably salt it throughout that process because there are some kind of thicker, fleshier areas that may need extra salting as the process goes along. All right, so in it goes. Well, hey y'all, it's been about probably a week and a half since I put the bobcat skin in the refrigerator with the salt on it. I'm gonna go ahead and pull it out and take a look at it. And at this point, I might go ahead and stretch it out onto a frame and start fleshing it. So I'm gonna go in the fridge and see what we've got. All right, there she is. All right, so at this point, it's actually starting to look fairly dried out. I think at this point, what I'm gonna go ahead and do is wash this and get all the salt off of it, start defleshing it, but it looks good. All right, well, I've got it very temporarily hung up on this table right here, just so I can get some of these bigger pieces of flesh off. But I'm gonna work quickly here because it's summer in Florida, so we do have some flies. All right, I've got this stretched out a little bit better. I got all the major pieces of flesh off. So I'm gonna go ahead and get my grinder out and go ahead and start working on this little membrane that you see. All right, so one thing that I've learned so far with this bobcat hide is that you cannot use the same tools on it that you do a cowhide. The stuff that I used for the cowhide was much too powerful for this thinner bobcat skin. I actually put a couple holes in it, unfortunately. I think what I'm gonna do at this point is go ahead and just stretch it a little by hand. Looks pretty good. I would love to be able to get some hand tools on this hide just to do a soft scrape on it as it's drying out. The problem with the smaller hide is you have to have it on a frame or something to kind of hold it still while you're working on it. I didn't really have to do that with the cowhide. This, you definitely need a smaller frame, or just pick it up frequently and stretch it by hand, which is what I'm doing here. So I need to set something up in the refrigerator where I can just drape this over. I put that big hole in there. It's a shame. I have heard that you can stitch these little holes up, so I think this one is big enough to where it warrants a few stitches. Definitely can't use the same hand tools, power tools anyways, on these thinner skins, which makes sense. This bobcat hide is so beautiful. I'm really glad we got the chance to preserve this. And again, this was a bobcat that we shot out of our tree that was out front with our pastured poultry. So the bobcat had to go, but I definitely wanted to preserve its memory by trying to preserve its hide. I'm gonna try to find something to drape this over so it can just hang. So let me go see what I can find. All right, well, I actually found a really cool thing to lay the bobcat hide out on in the refrigerator. Let me show y'all what I found. Okay, get out of here, fly. I found an old pot rack that we've had in the barn. We've just, you know, it was one of those things that we picked up and we just saved because we might use it one day. I never thought in a million years, though, that I would use a pot rack as a hide stretcher. It worked out really nice. Okay, I've got all the edges secured now. This pot rack worked out great for this. Got to make sure there's no flies in here when I close the door. My drying rack has worked really well. I checked this in the refrigerator this afternoon, and this hide is fairly dry but still very supple, so I figured this would be the perfect time to pull it out and put the sander on it a little bit. So it's working off the rest of that fibrous layer, and it's looking really great. All right, so overall, I think it's looking pretty good. It's starting to feel like suede. That was 60 grit sandpaper that I just used on this. I am thinking about maybe getting a fresh piece and going back over it one more time. As you can see in these little spots right here, those still need a little bit of work, but I think overall this is really starting to turn out nice. I can't wait to get it trimmed up around the edges though. I think I'm almost ready to put the tanning solution on it. All right, well, while this is still soft enough, I can't stand it any longer. I'm gonna go ahead and trim the sides. All right, y'all, I've got it trimmed up. It is so incredibly soft. Flip it over so y'all can see this side. But I'm actually thinking that I'm gonna go ahead and put the tanning solution on it because it's not completely dry yet. You don't want it to get completely dry before you put the tanning solution on. So I am using the same thing as my cowhide, True Bond. Just a little on a paintbrush, and we'll brush it on here, and then every 12 hours, stretch it. All right, back in the fridge it goes to soak up the tanning solution. All right, y'all, well, I just pulled the hide out of the refrigerator and I'm gonna call it done. It looks great. This is all totally dried out now. But as you can see, it's still very, very soft and flexible. Super cool, but I'm calling it done. I'm super happy with it. Thanks for joining me.